Hello, welcome to Quite Simply, where we quite simply talk about quite simply whatever I feel like talking about on any given day while doing my LED masking. So, today I'm going to tackle a subject that's revolting for some, totally gross. So, consider this your trigger warning. If you don't like dealing in poo or blood or pus, skip out now. Like, this is your warning. Don't growl me if you keep going and then you end up revolted. Personally, I don't get revolted by much. I'm one of those people that you can be like, this really revolting thing happened while I'm eating, and I'll be like, oh, tell me more. Keep going on. And while we're here, what's your childhood trauma? I'm just not phased by most things, which is probably why I'm quite comfortable talking about this, because this is a subject I haven't seen a heck of a lot on the interwebs. I have seen a few things in the milder versions of what I'm about to talk about spoken on, but not the really gross stuff. So, shall we start? I'm going to tell you the 5 grossest things that I have discovered happen when you become a runner. I've been running for 10 months now, so I'm still new to it, but I've definitely experienced the gamut of grossness. So let's start at number 1. Toes just get janky, like so janky. First of all, so I've even written, like, this never happens. I can't show you this because it's got some personal stuff on it, but I've written notes, which isn't quite simply what I'm here to do. Normally there's like nothing fancy going on, but I wanted to make sure I got all of the grossness out. First one, toes. First of all, your toes tend to break, like the nails break, and then that leads to raggedness, which then I have found has led on the odd occasion to just blood around the toes, which is fine. Worst case scenario, I had an infected toe, which ached. I went to go for a run one day and went, I can't do this. I can barely walk. And I went home and I investigated the area, gave it a bit of a squeeze, and pus came out, and I had to reach for the antibiotic cream that I have and pop that on, and eventually it came right and I was able to run after a few days. But it's gross. Nobody told me how gross the toes would get. Like right now I've got like toes that need some desperate, well, I don't even want to trim them because they've cut so, like, bits have crumbled off so low it'll just feel weird. I'm gonna have to though. I'm gonna have to do some maintenance today. Yeah, yuck. No one tells you about how terrible your toes become when you become a runner. Nor do they tell you, I mean, you know how when you run or walk you get blisters? And that's fine. I expected to get blisters on my heels when I had new shoes and whatnot, but I got a blister on like sort of the inner sole of my foot. And it was massive. It was a good like sort of 6 centimeters long, and then it ended up filling up with blood, which then dried and then became hard, and then eventually kind of just I peeled it off. I'm sorry. I don't want to be grossing anyone out. I hope I'm not grossing you out, but I had to, because I was like, this isn't right to have this great big dark skanky patch on my heel of my foot. So now I kind of have a callus there. So calluses and blisters on random parts of your feet. Once you start running, I found it didn't happen until I got to maybe the 4-5K mark, and was running that regularly. That wasn't particularly pleasant, and I used to have to like do all sorts of bandages to be able to keep running, which just I guess shows how much of an obsession running can become once you get stuck into it. Yeah, blisters. Okay, we're about to go into the next bit of grossness. Not really. I mean, I'm not bothered by it, but some people might be. Chafing between your buttocks. I didn't expect chafing between my buttocks. For the record, again, too much information, but I wear a very, runners focused, silky, no hemline G-string with my running shorts. Can't believe I'm telling what few people might. Probably no one will watch this, but why not? Let's do it. And I thought that'll be fine. That won't cause any issues. And then one day I was having my post-run shower and I bent over to get some body wash, and the stinging! It was so sore. And yet I still ran. And I just had to prepare myself every time I had a shower for the pain of the chafing between the buttocks. Yeah, again, no one told me. And it's, if you like run multiple days, it's multiple pain. But usually when that was happening, it was because I was running my 5 to 10 plus Ks. And yeah, again, it seems that 5K mark is when everything goes wrong. Um, for me anyway. That's just my one single person's findings. Okay, well, now we're going to get really gross. And so I am going to give another trigger warning. We're about to talk about poo. So if you don't deal in poo, it's been nice. Thanks for watching. Bye. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that I have had some issues with my bowels this last year, which did not help the situation. But I think anyone who's ever had a moment of turtling knows the fear that comes with needing to go to the bathroom and not being able to go to the bathroom because there are no bathrooms around. When you run, sometimes that becomes not just a solid poo, but you get the feeling of diarrhea. And I have done many a run where I have been working my sphincter so hard, praying to the gods of running that things are not going to happen. And I have run kilometres home and just raced straight to the bathroom and had to go badly. Worst case scenario happened. I was in the last 500 metres of my run home, and thank God it was only 500 metres. And I could just feel, apparently we have two sphincters and they work together. I know, things you read in your lifetime. So I was running home and I could just feel the need, and I was like, no, run. I stepped up that pace even though I'd gone for 6 kilometres and I was really tired. And then they both gave up the ghost and I pooed myself so badly. And I was just, it wasn't even humiliated. I was like, oh, I mean, it was going to happen. Apparently it happens to marathoners all the time and ultra runners. So really, it's like I've become a real runner now. You poo yourself, you're a real runner. Yay me. I waddled home and I passed one of my neighbours and oh gosh, I just didn't stop to make any nice polite conversation. I just kept going. And I had to wash myself down like a cow in a milking shed. It was revolting. And I'll be honest, after that, I started to run in areas where I knew there were public toilets readily available for about a month afterwards because the fear was real. It was just not nice. And and the worst bit is that I always make sure to have emptied my bowels before going for a run, but sometimes it just doesn't matter. Sometimes your bowels are just gonna go and you're just gonna deal with it, and it doesn't matter what pre-run structure you've gone through to try and make that not happen, it happens. So prepare yourself. If you're new to running and you're about to run a longer distance, you might poo yourself and just deal with it. Maybe have some tissues. And saying that, there's no way I was going to drop my dax and be on my bum and try and clean myself up in the middle of the world. So you just have to accept it might happen. I hope it doesn't. Lastly, this is gross. Even I will go, this is gross, but I also think it's important to talk about because it does happen and you might need to freak out or you might not need to freak out. So what I noticed once I started running longer distances again, and saying that I do notice it now if I run over 2 kilometres, is you'll go to the bathroom and you might find yourself bleeding when you wipe from your bottom. I, at the time, with my stomach issues, completely freaked out because I was already going, what if I have bowel cancer? But it was bright red. But even then, if you do a Google, and don't Google, sometimes they're like, yes, you can sometimes have this. But my doctor was like, is your blood black? And no, it was red. And as it turned out, once I'd had some colonoscopies, plural, another story, it turned out that thankfully they removed a precancerous polyp, but there was no cancer there. So the doctor said it's most likely hemorrhoids. I didn't know I had hemorrhoids until I started running. Or maybe the running created the hemorrhoids. But now that I run longer distances, I end up pooing blood. Sometimes once, sometimes a little bit all day, sometimes a lot, sometimes just a small amount. It can scare you. But I would always say, if you are experiencing bleeding, talk to your doctor. I am not a doctor. This is not medical advice. Well, it is medical advice, but it's like, don't take medical advice from me, but also don't just allow yourself to be bleeding from the bottom willy-nilly and not do anything about it, because we have one life and we ought to look after ourselves as best as we can. That's why I'm running. But yeah, bleeding from the bum, fun and also unexpected and a little scary, even when you know it's hemorrhoids. It's just not pleasant. But yeah, so those are the 5 gross things that can happen when you become a runner that nobody talks about. Actually, I will also add to that thing about the whole bleeding thing. Apparently, something can happen in your intestine, something to do with oxygen. You can Google that. Like, it's quite fascinating, but I'm also, again, not a medical professional and therefore have no real idea how to explain it properly. But it might not be hemorrhoids, it could be this whole thing that can happen. Maybe somebody knows better than me, can drop that in the comments. If anyone watches this, which probably no one is, I'm still a bit afraid to be looking at stats. So if you're watching, hi, thanks. Subscribe or don't. I hope you made it to the end. If you didn't, don't blame you. I'm going to go now. I've got some bagels that I'm making that I'm going to go and keep making. And then that'll be my post-run num-nums. I just said num-nums. What kind of adult am I? Okay, I'm going. Thanks. Bye.